Hi, my name is Guy Thomas. I'm the owner of Data Sheet Solutions, a small company that helps businesses get and stay compliant with OSHA's Hazard Communications Standard. In today's day and age, we believe that no one should be fined by OSHA for a simple paperwork problem, and today I want to discuss 3 key steps that will save you time and heartache while compiling your required safety data sheets. The first step is to understand what chemicals require an SDS. Before you get started, it's a good idea to educate yourself on the requirements of OSHA's Hazard Communications Standard. Not everything in your workplace is going to require an SDS, so let's knock what we can off the list. OSHA only requires safety data sheets for hazardous chemicals. This actually ends up excluding a bunch of products that you might otherwise waste your time on. Some common products which are typically non-hazardous include oils and greases and many cleaning chemicals. If you're unsure, take a closer look at the back of the product and look for keywords such as warning, danger, or caution. These keywords typically indicate that the chemical is indeed hazardous. If you're working from an existing SDS binder, take a look at Section 2 of the SDS. It will indicate whether the chemical is hazardous or not. You can choose to remove non-hazardous chemicals from your list and binder if desired. OSHA provides another exemption for consumer-grade products. This exemption is not as straightforward, so it's important to understand the caveats. If you go into the kitchen and check under the sink, you'll probably find some hazardous chemicals. If you're using those chemicals just like you would at home and at the same frequency, then you'll not need to include them on your hazardous chemical list. This is typically going to exempt a bunch of your office-style products like whiteout, dishwashing detergent, whiteboard cleaner, etc. You need to be careful with this exemption though, because while you might only use the glass cleaner occasionally, if you have janitorial staff whose job it is to clean all of the windows in the office, then that chemical would still need to be on your list. Finally, I wanted to go over some items that are oftentimes missed when compiling your list of hazardous chemicals. Most people have no problem identifying aerosols, liquids, and pastes, but there are a couple other categories that you need to be aware of. First up are gases. Make sure any compressed gases you have are identified and added to your list. This includes welding gases, propane, and oxygen. Make sure you identify and catalog the different gas mixes you have on site. Another overlooked category for your hazardous chemical list are consumables that release hazardous chemicals when used. Welding rods, abrasive discs, solder, and flux are the most common forms of hazardous consumables, so be sure to add those to your list as well. Now that we know what does and does not need to be in your binder, we can move on to the next step, which is to ensure you collect the appropriate information on each chemical when walking around your facility identifying hazardous chemicals. There are a few pieces of vital information you'll want to collect to make your life much easier when it comes to locating the appropriate safety data sheets later. To get started, we need to differentiate between a product's brand name and the actual manufacturer name. Understanding the difference can save you a lot of time when you search for the SDS later. A brand name like Loctite generally appears on the front of a product's label. But when you turn a product around and look at the smaller print, you may see a different company name and address. And this is what you want to note as the product's manufacturer. In this case, Loctite is the brand, but it's actually manufactured by the Hinkle Corporation. Once you've identified the manufacturer, now you can turn that product back over and capture the product's name. Be sure to include any brand names to help you locate the SDS. For products with variations like paints or fragrance to items, be sure to capture those details as well, because manufacturers will often have separate SDSs for each variation. One of the most important pieces of information you can collect is the product's ID or part number. This is typically a combination of letters and numbers and is oftentimes found on the back near the manufacturer's address. Collecting this piece of vital information is important to improve the speed and accuracy of your SDS search. Finally, if you have the means, it can also be a real time saver to snap a photo of each chemical. This will allow you to compare the image with those located on sales pages, and it could save you a trip out to the flammable locker if you miss an important detail during your inventory. Now that we know what products are going to require an SDS and have collected the relevant information about each chemical, it's time for the final step of finding the correct documents. It would be nice if there was some sort of national repository of all this data, but unfortunately that's just not the case. OSHA sets the requirement and leaves the execution up to the individual chemical manufacturers and suppliers. This also brings up an important point. Safety data sheets are chemical and manufacturer specific. This means that both the product name and the manufacturer name need to be matched what's on the product label. If you have a bottle of acetone, you can't simply provide your employees with another manufacturer's SDS. You need to find the SDS specific to the manufacturer that you've purchased the chemical from. So how do we get the correct SDS documents? The best place to start will be with some simple Google searches. SDSs can be found in all kinds of places on the internet, but to get accurate documentation, you really should prioritize the chemical manufacturer's website. In the case of our Loctite product, we're going to first search for an online SDS database from the manufacturer, which is Hinkle Corporation. Open up Google and search for the manufacturer's name and the term SDS. For large manufacturers, this will typically bring up their SDS library. Manufacturer SDS libraries will usually fall into the following categories: public searchable databases, private databases, integrated product listings, and SDS request forms. Let's start out by discussing public searchable databases. Large companies will sometimes provide document databases allowing you to punch in the product ID or product name and search for results. How helpful these databases are varies by manufacturer, and sometimes they can cause more grief than they're worth. When searching by product name, be sure to try a few variations and see if you can get document hits with partial names. Product IDs are usually the best way to find correct documents, but if your product is older and possibly discontinued, they may have been purged completely from the database. Some companies will require a login to access their SDS document library, and getting that login is going to require some work on your side. Typically, these companies are going to try to match the details you provide with data in their sales database. And you may need to get in touch with your purchasing department to get a PO number or a customer number to be approved for an account. On more consumer-facing product brands, the SDS documents will sometimes be integrated into the product listings on the website. This is generally the easiest way to locate and download the appropriate safety data sheet. Simply search the website for the product and find the SDS download link on the product page. Our last category are companies with no publicly available SDS documents, instead providing you a request form that sends an email to someone in the company. Unfortunately, a large number of these requests will go unanswered, so if you do request an SDS in this manner, make sure you put a note on your calendar to follow up with the request. That way you can call and harass them later if necessary. During your initial search for the manufacturer of a chemical, it may become evident that the company no longer exists. There may be no website, no trace of the company online at all. In these cases, you may need to do a little digging to determine if another company acquired the original. Press releases are typically written when acquisitions like these happen, so a quick Google search for the company name plus acquired by can get you on the right track. If you've struck out completely attempting to get an SDS from the manufacturer, you can turn to some special search techniques using advanced Google search operators. 99% of all safety data sheets are in PDF format, and with that knowledge we can use this special file type operator to search only for PDFs that might be our SDS. In Google, start your search with the following term: file type :PDF. Then append product information likely to appear in that SDS, like the product's name or ID and the manufacturer name. Finally, add the term we are sure is going to appear in the document and put it in quotes, in this case, safety data sheet. This results in a powerful Google search that can help find your SDS no matter where it's hiding. Using this strategy and modifying it as necessary can help you find safety data sheets stored by retailers, other companies, and even the manufacturer themselves. If you get a bunch of results, be sure to check the revision dates and use the most recent document you can find. Now that you understand what products and chemicals need an SDS, what data to collect from those labels, and how to locate the correct document, you're well on your way to building an accurate hazard chemical inventory and SDS binder. Doing this properly can take a lot of time, and dealing with paperwork should never get in the way of managing employee safety. If you'd like to take your time back and supercharge your hazard communications program, you really should take a look at our company, Datasheet Solutions. Our clients inventory their chemicals by simply scanning the barcodes with their phone, instantly capturing the required information and transmitting those details to our SDS fulfillment center, who do all the legwork to find and update your SDS library. If this sounds like something your company could benefit from, head over to our website, www.datasheetsolutions.com, and start a free trial where you can use our inventory tools completely risk-free with no credit card required. Thank you for your time, and stay safe out there.